Hello everybody and welcome to another Media Studies lesson. So if you're new to the channel, what you want to do is go back to the beginning and watch them all the way through, each video in order, because they all build one on top of the other and you'll pick up some of the kind of strategies and some of the kind of things we do here. If you're a student watching this, you're going to need a mini whiteboard and a whiteboard pen and then an exercise book or some line paper with a pen to be able to do some of the tasks and activities as we go through. If you're a teacher watching this, you can download this PowerPoint on my TES Shop, link in the description below. I try and deliver these to the closest I can as if this was a real lesson in a classroom. Within these lessons, there are lots of turn and talks where you as a student would want to talk to someone next to you. If you're watching this video on your own, you're not going to be able to do that. So the best thing you can do there is just have that kind of mental conversation yourself. When you enter my classroom, you'd be walking in silence and you'd have as much time as it takes me to distribute the books and to take a register to tackle these 5 questions on the board. You'll see in the top right corner it says LSQ. That means low stakes quiz. All of our starters, all of our kind of entry routines are very consistent. You come in silence, you tackle these 5 questions. If you've followed us from the first lesson, these would be piece of cake, these questions. You should know them like the back of your hand by now. So if you need to at any point, do pause the video to give yourself the time to do some of these tasks and activities, and let's get going. Okay, so define the 3 formats. Well, that's print, broadcast, and OS&P. Media language is how the media communicates meaning. Representations is the way people, places, and events are presented or portrayed in the media. Audiences is about the people that consume the media and the potential effect the media has on people. And then industries is about the people and companies that create and distribute the media. Okay. In a moment when I say go, in your books, you're going to write down today's title. That's the red bit here, Uses of the Media. You also need to put today's date and give them a nice double underline. So you don't need to write down the bit that says 0.2.1, what is the media? That means 0 is the topic we're in, which is introduction to the media. 2 stands for this kind of second big section we're in, which is what is the media? And 1 is the first lesson within that section. You don't need to write down the lesson objective, but it is good to know it. It's always on the screen in the top corner anyway. But today you need to be able to explain what people use the media for. Now, what I'd do at this point in my lesson is I would do something called a prerequisite knowledge check. That means, do you know the stuff you need to know to be able to access this lesson? And for this, it's simply one question. What are the 9 forms or types of media that we study on this course? 9 different types of media. What are they? So you should have newspapers, magazines, adverts, radio, TV, music videos, social media, video games, and film. So we're going to start this lesson a little differently. Rather than me tell you everything up front, I want you to have a think about what you might already know. This on the surface looks like a simple enough question, but I really do want you to consider what audiences use the media for. In a moment, when I say go, not before, you're going to do a turn and talk with your partner. Now again, if you're watching this on your own, you're going to just do this with yourself. But what I want you to do is list as many different things as you can on your mini whiteboard. Why do people watch films, play video games, go on social media, read newspapers, and watch music videos? Give yourself about 35 seconds. How many can you get? Go. So in my classroom, we'd have had a range of ideas, I'm sure of it. But what if I told you there are actually only 4 reasons why people use the media? Every idea you have on your whiteboard could be placed into one of 4 different categories. So first, the most obvious, the one that everyone seems to think is the biggest reason, entertainment and diversion, or as you've probably put down, for fun. But it's more than that. If you asked my 8-year-old why she watches a film, she would say, oh, it's fun. But we can be more sophisticated. Sure, it can be fun, but entertainment is more than that. We might watch a sad film and have a good old cry. That doesn't sound very fun. But that doesn't mean it wasn't entertaining. Entertainment is not just fun, and that's my point. We watch a horror to have a bit of a scare, to get the blood pumping and feel like we survived something, or to prove to others that we're brave enough. We play a video game to feel a sense of accomplishment, like we've achieved something when we get to the end and beat the final boss. We come home and we binge watch our favourite TV series for hours on end just to ignore the stresses of a day. If you're anything like me, we watch James Bond and subconsciously think, yeah, I'm a hero just like that. We experience a range of emotions, but we also use it to fantasize and pretend, or to hide away from the world a bit. All of that comes under the term entertainment and diversion. Okay, on your mini whiteboards, in as fewer words as possible, how might we use social media for entertainment or diversion? So you might have things like we would read other people's negative posts to feel better about our own lives. Maybe something like doom scrolling for a few hours just to forget about any personal stress we have. Or maybe we're using social media just to laugh at funny memes. But there are other reasons we use the media as well. Surveillance. This one is about, well, I think most people would understand. This is about learning. This is education, information. Surveillance means looking at the world. Think of a surveillance camera. So this could be as simple as watching a YouTube video to learn how to wire a plug, or a David Attenborough documentary to learn about animals. But it can also just be to watch a version of the world. An old man might watch Love Island and get some understanding about what life is like for the youth of today. Okay, on your mini whiteboards, in as fewer words as possible, how might we use newspapers for surveillance? So that might be things like learning about current events or seeing what is going on in other parts of the world. Next, we have social interaction, and that's about connecting with other people. So with online media, that's pretty straightforward. You might comment on a YouTube video and therefore be connecting with others. You might use social media to connect with friends and family. Perhaps you play a video game with a headset on and interact with other players. But we can also use old media for social interaction. Simply coming into school or work and saying, hey, did you watch Traitors last night? And having a conversation about the media you enjoy. That would be a way of making friends and interacting with people. And that was a much bigger deal when the only choices were 4 channels on TV and everyone basically watched the same thing all the time. So, in your own words, on your mini whiteboard, in as fewer words as possible, how might we use films for social interaction? So, talking about a film we like with other people, or going to the movies on a date, posting comments on the trailers on YouTube, all of those would be ways you could use films to interact with people. And finally, we have identity. Now, in my humble opinion, this is the most interesting one. If you were to ask my daughter what she gets out of watching YouTube, she would say it's fun. And yes, I'm sure she's entertained by it. But I think her needs are more complex than that. As an 8-year-old, she's figuring out who she is. What is an 8-year-old? What is a girl? What is an English kid? Who do I want to be? How should I behave to make friends? And so on. This would all be subconscious to her. She's not having these thoughts out loud. But as she's watching and consuming media, she very well might be seeking out answers to these types of questions. She's watching K-pop Demon Hunters for fun on the surface, but then is asking me for hair dye, white leather jackets and high-lace boots for her birthday. She tells me how her and her friends play Demon Hunters at break time, and how she's the bossy one telling everyone else what to do. So the media is influencing her identity, whether she knows it or not. Okay, on your mini whiteboards, in as fewer words as possible, in your own words, how might we use music videos for identity? So dressing or acting like musicians, copying their behaviour, copying styles or attitudes, they would all be ways we use a music video for identity. So as a quick heads up, all of this comes from an audience theory called uses and gratifications. And we're going to cover that theory in more depth in the future. When we get into our audience's topic, we'll be coming back to all of this. But as part of the introduction to media, I wanted you to have a real solid understanding of what people are using it for. Now, my students, they can't help themselves. They want to write down definitions as soon as they see them. So in a moment, at the back of your books, you should have a terminology list, and you're going to add this word and definition to it. You'll see on this one, there's like a subheading, uses and gratifications. It's worth putting that in now so we have it for the future. Okay, pause the video if you need to. This should take about 30 seconds. So now we have surveillance. Again, pause the video if you need to. Give yourself 30 seconds. Get that definition down. And here we have social interaction. Again, pause the video. And finally, identity. Pause the video if you need to. So in a moment, we're going to try and explore different ways media products might fulfill the different uses we've explored so far. Now, this time, I'm going to add a little more detail to the use. For example, escapism. So we're in the realm of entertainment and diversion here. But one way we can be entertained or have this feeling of diversion to get away from the stresses of everyday life is this word escapism. This means using the media to forget about the stresses of a day, to try and just forget about life for a bit and get totally engrossed in something. This could be watching a film, for example. If I've had a bad day, say I got in trouble with my wife, or I come home and find a leak in the roof, or my boiler is broken, then I might just stick on 3 hours of Lord of the Rings and escape for the evening. So another form of entertainment might be fantasy. This is all about pretending or imagining a better life. Now, we might also find entertainment from the media by expressing or feeling some kind of emotions. So laughing at something funny, crying at something sad. So in a moment, when I say go, I want you to turn and talk to your partner, or if you're watching this on your own, consider how different media might be used for these things. So on your mini whiteboards, try to consider how video games might be used for fantasy, or how social media might be used for emotions. This shouldn't take too long. Look at my example on the first row. You're trying to complete something like that. This is on your mini whiteboard in as fewer words as possible. If you wanted to, you could pause the video for longer and explore all the other types of media and how they could be used for these things. So you might have something like, for fantasy and video game, don't forget fantasy is all about pretending and projecting and imagining a better life. So you might choose some muscle-bound character with superpowers and awesome-looking skins, which is a way of projecting things you wish you could be in real life. And what about emotions and social media? Well, watching a sad short or reading a sad post and feeling sympathy for others. You might feel a sense of sadness just to kind of get that emotion out of you and have a good old cry and then feel better about yourself afterwards. So in a moment, we're going to repeat that task, but now for surveillance. So surveillance was all about information, learning, education, those kinds of things. So information, that's about gathering facts. How do you actually get info? What about education? So that's learning new things. So let's try and figure out how newspapers can help with information and how television might help with education. Again, pause the video for as long as you need. And again, where it's got the product, you could do that for all 9 types of media. So you might have something like reading the news to know what's going on in the world, finding out the information, who's doing what politically, or what new virus is out there on the loose, or whatever it might be. And education, television, watching a documentary about nature, learning about the environment, anything like that. So we're going to repeat that again, but now for social interaction. So first off, you might have things like social experiences. So this is about sharing something with others. Then you could have remaining part of society. So that's about staying in touch with other people. And that could be individual, like family and friends, or it might be on an even bigger scale, like staying in touch with your local community or national community, or even your country, or even the world. So let's tackle this with video games and social media. But again, you could do this with any of the 9 types of media. Pause the video here if you need to, and I'll see you in a minute. So, a social experience through a video game. So, a group of friends might bond by playing the same game. They might all come into school the next day and say, "Have you played FIFA today?" "Yeah, I played FIFA." And then you're bonding over that. But it could be that you're all going and logging on with your headset on and playing something like Fortnite or Call of Duty, where you're actually talking and engaging with each other as well. Now, remaining part of society, social media, well, you might use Facebook or similar to connect with distant friends and relatives. And by distant, I mean those that live a long way away. One of the only reasons I really have a relationship with my brother still is because of Facebook. He lives a long way away from me, so it's difficult to stay in touch. So Facebook's a great way to see what's going on and remain part of that society. And lastly, we're now going to look at identity. And this one splits into 2 quite nicely as well. We have who we are, so that's thinking about how the media might directly affect us, and then who other people are, thinking about our expectations of other people. We're going to tackle this with music videos and advertising. Again, pause the video if you need to. I'll see you in a moment. So you might have something like with a music video, if you like a particular song or a band, then you might dress like them or change your fashion sense or start acting or talking like them, and it becomes part of your identity. With who other people are, advertising is a really interesting one because we see adverts all the time. But if we see an advert, we might believe that that's what other people are truly like. Adverts are relatively realistic. They try and show you a real world setting. So if you see, say, a woman in the kitchen doing the washing up for a soap advert, then you might think that that's what women are supposed to be like. Now, we'll get more into that in our future topic of representations. And to be crystal clear, they're not my thoughts. I'm just saying this is sometimes what we see. So identity is very much about who we are, but also how we see other people. Now, all that's left is for you to explain all of that in the front of your books. So in a moment, when I say go, you're going to need to be able to write in full sentences. And this is your chance to explain what audiences use the media for. You don't need definitions. We already have those. We want you to consider how all 4 uses of the media could be used or could be provided by all 9 types of media. Don't forget to use a ruler if you're going to do subheadings. You could do a section for each of the 9 types of media, or you could do a section for each of the 4 uses and have all the 9 types under each one. Up to you. But this is going to take you some time. You've done it on your mini whiteboard already. That's your thinking. If we were in my classroom, we'd have done some shared thinking and had the best answers all together. And now it's just putting it down in our books. As always, here's a little bit of help for you. Some sentence stems and some keywords. You'll notice I've got one use of the media is. Now, again, later on you go, another use could be, and so on. Or you could go for the 9 types of media there and explain how each one offers all 4 uses. Try and be as detailed as you can. Try and use examples from your own life. What films do you watch? What TV do you watch? What video games do you play? And I would argue, if you do not engage with all of these 9 types of media, by this point, I mean, why are you studying media studies then? You've got to go and have a look at these things. If possible, ask your teachers or family or whoever you can to get you a newspaper. Just to have a look at one, to feel it. Get a couple of magazines and have a look. Okay? The rest of them are pretty straightforward, I'm sure. But do make sure you are engaging with these 9 types of media. Okay, I would give my students for this, depending on how long our discussions have been. Bear in mind, this is quite a quick video here, but our discussions for each use of those medias would be relatively long, I imagine. But ideally, you'd have a minimum of 15 minutes to be tackling this. So push pause, and I'll see you in a moment. Well, our lesson objective was to be able to explain what people use the media for. And I'm pretty convinced if you've followed this and done what's been asked, you can do that now. So How might we use social media for entertainment and diversion? How might we use newspapers for surveillance? How might we use films for social interaction? How might we use music videos for identity? You should be able to answer those relatively easily. Now, if for any reason there was time left of this lesson and you want to go a little bit deeper, here's an extension activity for you. Most people use the media just for fun. To what extent do you agree? Now, I would hope you would have something to say about that, because just for fun, that's the basic answer. Like I said, my 8-year-old would say for fun. We can be more sophisticated. Thank you very much for your time. Please do like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It just helps other people find it. I'm not doing this for any particular financial gain for a YouTube channel. I'm just mainly doing this for my students. I imagine most of the views on this are my students that have come here to watch this for a bit of revision. But if you are someone else, please do say hello. Keep it clean, keep it nice. Always be kind in the comments. There's no reason not to be. If you have a difference of opinion, that is absolutely fantastic and brilliant. Let's discuss it. But keep it nice, be kind. If you would like this PowerPoint to click through, then you can download it from my TES Shop, link in the description below. You may have noticed that in most of these lessons, it feels like I'm reading from a script. That's because I am. That script is in the notes section of these slides. It even says click when I'm supposed to click for the next animation to pop up. Mostly they're in order. Sometimes it goes wrong. So yes, please do go and have a look at those if you are interested. Having said all of that, I'll catch you at the next one.